What's up, Internet? Today we're going to install these beautiful lime green Core Moto brake lines. You'll want to definitely make sure that you've got the right line if you've ordered multiple lines. Like I have ordered lines for both the front and the rear. Today we're just going to install the rear, but there are specific bends on the end of the brake line, and you want to pull your brake line out of the container, out of the packaging, and make sure you know which end goes to the caliper and which end goes to your master cylinder. And so we've done that, and these bends look pretty close, if not exactly the same as OEM. So good job, Core Moto. Step one is I'm going to pull this little kicker plate off that is like a guard for the master cylinder. I don't think you need to, but I have a special plan for this that I'll show you at the end of the video. I think there's actually enough room to pull the brake line off without removing this little protection plate. The next thing we'll do is, we'll just do it now. There's little clips that hold the traction control sensor wire to the brake line, so we're going to pull those guys off. And I'm going to start at the master cylinder end and pull this end off first, put the new brake line on, and leave it kicking up like this so that gravity is working against the brake fluid, and hopefully we don't spill any or waste any. And then we'll do the end on the caliper, and then we'll start the bleeding process, and that should be about it, really. Make sure you got plenty of brake fluid. We're gonna have to do a lot of bleeding. And then the other thing we'll have to do is pull the cap off the reservoir so we can keep an eye on the reservoir and add fluid as we bleed the brakes out. But I'm not going to pull the cap off until we're ready to actually bleed the brakes and we've got the brake line installed. Slight change of plans. I did not pull this little kicker plate off until the very end. So you absolutely do have enough clearance to work with the brake line at the master cylinder without removing the plate. If you do remove the plate, you got to put the bolts back in because that is the mount for the brake cylinders, not just the protection plate. The other thing we had to do that I didn't plan on was I had to lift up the cover, and there's a thick portion right here of the brake line that I couldn't pull through, so I had to pull that out from under, and then you can pull the rest of the brake line through after that. Wasn't too bad, it was pretty easy to do. That was it. Everything else went straight forward, and now we're at the point where we are ready to actually bleed the line and run brake fluid through the system. Cool. The other thing I did do was, as you saw, there was a fair amount of brake fluid that came out and leaked out when we disconnected the brake line from the caliper. So I was prepared for that, had a bunch of paper towels there to make sure that we didn't leak any brake fluid on the traction control sensor. We don't want the brake fluid to eat through that wire housing and affect traction control, even though I always just turn traction control off anyway. But that's just me. Some people might like their traction control. The other thing too is don't let the brake fluid sit on your caliper for too long because it will eat through paint. And it can destroy things. It's very toxic. You should actually wear gloves when you're doing this job. But all right, that's it, folks. It's a pretty simple job, actually. That was not hard at all. Those are all the tools that we used. The Core Moto brake line does come with new banjo bolts and washers, so that's pretty cool. And actually, the banjo bolts I think look better in this stainless steel brushed aluminum kind of look versus the stock ones, which are black. And damn, man, this brake line looks great. I'm really, really happy with this brake line. Pretty easy install, like I said. The only other thing that we did was, instead of just bleeding the brake lines, I went ahead and kind of flushed the system. Oh, forgot the kicker plate. I was like, damn, fucking insane. Okay, that was a pretty easy install, to be honest with you. I love this brake line. I love this brake line even more than I love the orange ones I put on the Gixxer. Man, it just looks great. Looks great. I love it. Not 100% sure about this little kicker protector plate in front of the master cylinder. I think I'm just going to leave it on there and just see if it grows on me. I'm kind of just like 50-50 on it. I didn't cut out there's two little holes here. I didn't cut those out. I might cut those out, and then that might even change how I feel about how it looks. And then these two bolts, the mounting bolts, when I torqued them down, they kind of twist up the vinyl. So I think if I end up deciding I want to keep it, I'll do the other side. I haven't done the other side yet. And I'll rewrap it. It's pretty easy. It didn't take me that long. And I'll have to leave some room around the bolts so that the bolts don't twist up the vinyl when you go to torque them down. But other than that, this was a pretty easy install. It didn't take that long. And I think the only thing that I want to mention that I didn't mention in the video was when it came time to bleed the system, and I ended up just flushing it out. I got new brake fluid from the reservoir through the master cylinder all the way out of the caliper. And but before I did that, I did put the bike back on the rear stand just to make sure that the master cylinder was level. And I mention that now because I can't remember if I mentioned that in the beginning. And when we first started disassemble, I had the bike just on the kickstand like it is right now. It wasn't on the not the center stand, but the rear stand, the paddock stand. Say it so it sounds cool, monkey butt. That's it, man. I hope you guys like it. Hopefully it shows you that it's not that hard to bleed brakes and install a brake line. This is just the rear one. We still have to do the fronts. That'll be another video. And till the next time, keep the rubber side down. Damn, I got lots of dirt bikes in here. I need to go ride motocross again. The dirt bikes are calling me, man. They're calling my name. I need to go ride the dirt.